Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. This time we are going to be looking at XRP. Hopefully you're all doing fantastic. Of course, I want to thank you for understanding and apologize because I have not been active for 2 days. I have not been feeling well, but I'm fully back now. And we're seeing a flash crash for XRP. If you hold XRP, you're about to be shocked. Let's get right into the video. I'm fully back with regular uploads.
Smash that like. Shock with what I'm about to share with you in today's video, and I'm going to show you guys some really cool data that I've never really shown on any of my videos previously, including XRP longs versus shorts, the liquidation heat map, and what.
That's what I told you guys. Don't be too afraid because exactly as I predicted, September 1st is when we saw these different crashes.
What that is likely to mean for the price of XRP very soon, based off of a number of different historical examples. This is some really awesome information. Now, before we get into the heat map and the liquidations and XRP, I do want to talk about something really important that will be also affecting XRP's price in the midterm. This is not going to be immediate. This is not going to happen overnight, but over the next 3 months, this will play a massive role.
I feel like September is the moment. Like I was calling for 2026 bear market, and I want to see what happens with that. I'm still kind of worried in what situation we end up in. Like 2026, it could go either way. Of course, I still feel like the 2025 is going to be very bullish for XRP. I'm not too worried about a small crash, but 2026 is what really gets me worried, right? With this goods exports, maybe are the companies preparing for another flash crash and XRP is going to suffer and be sold off? Like,
in a lot of my videos, I've been talking about how the US, Europe, Canada, many different economies are struggling immensely right now. And well, Canada most recently just announced a deficit which surged by 19.84 billion to a record $21 billion in Q2 of 2025. Now, this data was just released, and this is also following not so great data from the rest of the world as well. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys is because whenever we see this happen, massive deficits, huge amounts of government spending, things not looking too.
Now, this is one indicator, but again, you got to look at multiple indicators. The reason people are buying XRP is because we are in a very, very good note right now for XRP itself. The markets are still looking incredible no matter what. We're still at the lowest point of time in terms of basically crypto. You know, everyone is buying crypto. So that's the real thing here. Goods export dropped by 13% is bad to their lowest since 2021. I understand. But there's so many other positive factors we didn't see in 2011.
Great. Well, it always results in the basic same thing. And what is that? Well, that is the government starting to put forward stimulus, printing more money. And when we look at the M2 charts, you can see, well, we're hitting all-time highs in terms of M2, but we're also seeing a really strange correlation between assets such as stocks and crypto and M2 data as well. What we're essentially seeing is that both M2 and stocks are, of course, extremely correlated in their rise up to the top.
They're probably collecting money to buy into the next stock market.
And it's kind of scary if we're going to continue this route if you're not in any investable asset, because you're going to be missing out on what potentially could be life-changing for many people around the world. I mean, number one, if you're holding fiat currency and just holding that in savings, you're missing out on the roller coaster ride that will happen here, and you're also going to be having your currency massively devalued. But this is undeniable, right? Looking at how M2 and all equity markets are linked together. I mean, just look at the correlation here. It is absolutely insane. This is facts that you cannot deny. This applies to XRP, Bitcoin, the S&P 500, you name it. And
so NASDAQ is nearly twice as large as the liquid money in the market. Isn't like the banks are collecting, as soon as the banks start collecting money, that's when I would be afraid. Because it actually means when the banks start collecting money, is it to buy into the market itself? But right now, the M2 money supply, which is a bit delayed as well, is actually in a positive note, which means because we already saw this growing in a few months, which I'm predicting to be October, XRP is going to go up, according to my research.
So when we get information like this, that Canada,
Welcome,
the US,
everyone.
Europe, China, you name it, they're all going to be printing more money. I think the choice becomes more and more clear. Now that I've mentioned all that, I do want to talk about something that is extremely important.
This is just one bad indicator, and we've been seeing like 18 positive indicators since XRP grew.
That is the cryptocurrency longs versus shorts on the market. How much volume we're seeing in both directions, because this tells us exactly what retail traders are doing. Okay,
So again, not just retail traders, but whales are still bullish, and as long as whales are bullish, I'm still in.
You the economic data. Now I want to show you what retail's doing, because it's actually completely different, because most retail traders don't actually follow the data. They don't follow the facts. They follow their emotions. And this is a big reason as to why many retail traders get absolutely decimated in these markets. And I'll show you guys why in just a second. But
now the most important factor is there's still a lot of traders who trade based on data, but you shouldn't trade based on news. Why? Because a lot of this news that we get for XRP, it's already priced in, and it makes people who are fearful sell. That's exactly what we're seeing. You know, news that comes out like this is already priced in. The big whales know this isn't a big indicator. If we're going to get some breaking news, some people are going to know way before others.
When you look across all of the XRP long/short ratio chart, especially in more recent times, like any time in the last 24 hours or the last 7 days, what you'll see is there's actually more more shorts than longs, which basically means that more people are bearish on the market versus bullish on the market. And this applies on the 24-hour, 7-day time frame. You can look at this across all different exchanges. We look at Binance. There's more shorts.
So look, XRP 50% short and 50% long. It's because September could go either way, but historically September did go down. So September was a place down for XRP, but October historically was a time and a place where XRP was heavily up.
We look at OKX, more shorts. In very rare situations are there more longs. The general trend across the entire market with all of the largest exchanges is more shorts than longs by a decent amount. We're talking about billions of dollars here. That's no small amount, especially when we're talking about high numbers of leverage, because if there's, let's just say $10 billion or $1 billion or $5 billion more shorts versus longs in the market, you can bet your bottom dollar that top institutional investors are looking at this data and they're planning a way to liquidate those guys so that they can transfer that.
So $2.7 for XRP now right now. Whales are still buying, but I feel like it's going to get a very heavy September, just as I predicted correctly, maybe even 30% down. And I'm telling you this not to cause FUD, but, to be prepared that this is very normal, that, XRP could go 30% down and then back up, rally. Again, this is not financial advice. This is my opinion. But it does seem at this point that it's following the exact lines I told you guys on this channel.
That money over to them. And so this brings me to the liquidation heat map, which I think is crucial. Right now we're looking at the liquidation heat map for XRP. And the very interesting thing that we're noticing here is that there are a ton of liquidations up at these levels. Most notably, there are hundreds of millions of dollars of liquidations from 287.2 all the way up to 292. Now, why is that? Despite there being a near 50-50 distribution, I mean, obviously there's a little bit more shorts than longs. Why are there so many more liquidations for these short guys up here?
Now, this is where the whales make money, guys. The whales are making money, and they're not telling you why.
Here. Because, of course, if we hit these numbers, these guys who are shorting will be liquidated at these numbers, if you guys didn't know. And these are the longs that'll be liquidated down here. I mean, there are some, but not nearly as much as the shorts. Why is that? Why is that? Well, it's because retail traders also have a tendency to use much higher leverage than institutions because, frankly speaking, they're trying to make very quick money with very little capital. So the easiest way to do that is to borrow at, crazy leverages like 50x, 20x, 10x leverage, right? And institutions don't do that. Institutions just have billions and billions of dollars of capital. So they'll look at these charts, they'll say, wow, like we can liquidate people all the way up here to 292. Let's just pump the price up there to 292.
I think September is the month for the whales, especially crypto being so small, XRP being so small. They know there is money to be made. That's why we make videos like these, to tell you and explain, guys, why exactly XRP has dipped.
Let's liquidate these guys, and then you'll see a massive wick like what we saw, back here, for example, where we wicked up very largely and they liquidated a bunch of people at that level. And that's great. That's it. They liquidate those guys, they make their money, they might sell the top after the liquidations happen. Institutions are happy. The people that invest into those institutions are happy.
They want XRP to go down because that's the way they make money. That's the way the big whales make money. If XRP does not go down right now, or if the price doesn't move, they do not make a dime.
Because they just made it.
So if they push it for $2.5 or $2 or whatever it is, that's how they make literally their own income.
Pretty solid return. And so this is what I think is likely and increasingly likely to happen here. I do think that a lot of these short sellers with high leverage are going to get wrecked. You also see a very similar story happening right now on Bitcoin, on Ethereum. For some reason, there's a lot more shorts than longs, especially the higher leverage. And so, yeah, it is possible that we move a little bit down from here, but you can see we've been trading sideways. And as we all know, weekends are slow for crypto. Next week, I think we're going to heat up big time and things are going to get absolutely insane. And so I want to invite all of you guys who are lucky enough to be.
So yeah, you guys have a pretty clear idea what's happening right now in September. The whales are still trading. The whales are not emotional right now, but they believe the prices are going to be having a massive change. But this change is nothing for XRP. It's just going to keep building while these whales will make money off other, tinier whales. So you guys probably understand now exactly what's going on. This one bad info that we had doesn't invalidate all of the good news that we had the past month. So now XRP Mastermind predicts